Mark Pearson, Executive and Artistic Director of the College Light Opera Company, coming to you from the West Falmouth Library. Open now for curbside pickup. Welcome to Second Stage, a week in review of work being done by our talented orchestra members. Second Stage is made possible by a generous gift from Caroline and Jim Lloyd. Let's see what the Highfield Philharmonic was up to this week.
Hi, my name is Zach Lapid, and today, for the very last time, I get to say that I am the Associate Conductor for CLOC's 2020 digital season. For this week's Orchestra Masterclass, we got to talk with Jan Henrik Bogen. Jan is an artistic director in Europe, working in Germany and Switzerland, along with having degrees in both law and musicology. He spoke on the ins and outs of how to work as a musician in Europe, but mainly in Germany. On this week's episode of Second Stage, we will feature even more of our supremely talented orchestra members. I take a crack at the viola, and we have a special guest performance from Alison Maroney, recent CLOC director, and most importantly, one of my dear friends. I just would like to say that it has been an incredible opportunity, despite the circumstances, that I had working as the associate conductor for CLOC. This is my second year, and if it has taught me anything, it's that you can prepare all you want to work at CLOC during the summer, and CLOC will just throw you all of these new challenges that you just have to deal with, and you become a better musician and a performer and a better person, and you make it out on the other end alive. And I couldn't have done it without the likes of Miles Plant, resident music director, Lindsay Miller and Luke Malloy, our CLOC pianists, and especially Beth Burrier, our associate artistic director, and the person I call my boss. They have all been instrumental in helping me grow this summer, and I am just very thankful. So please enjoy.
Can you talk a little bit about and maybe starting with like Staatstheater and the orchestra employees and how that job works, what it looks like, how you get that kind of a job. And I think also what's fascinating is getting into what you were talking about when the season is being planned and structured, what that means from an employee perspective, and how long folks often stay in those orchestras.
It might seem far away from where I'm sitting somewhere in Switzerland right now, where it's already 7 p.m. To you guys in the States, but it's actually, I think, where I am right now is the biggest job market for orchestra musicians in the world. I think Germany alone has 142 professional theater companies that I was talking about, and I think and 123 or something I didn't learn the numbers completely by heart, professional orchestras, and that is by far the densest orchestra landscape in the world. That's just Germany. And then
I think it's valuable to point out that part of the reason behind that is state funding.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Have actual tax dollars going to pay orchestra workers, which seems amazing from all of us sitting here.
It is amazing. Yeah. It's a, well, I don't want to say a luxury because I believe that what we do has sort of impact on societies, or can have an impact on societies, and it's important to sort of nourish that. And it's actually been proven, if if people say oh yeah, but you're spending so much on taxpayers' money, and it's there have been studies proving that the return of investment in culture is as high as basically nothing else, because for every dollar spent, what you get back is around $2 if you factor in gastronomy, hotels, other kind of business branches that live through that. So it's not sort of socialist, communist, whatever, witchcraft, what's happening here. I think on the one hand, I think it's about making, I mean, I'm talking about an ideal here, we're fighting for this on a regular basis, but the history of theater and music theater especially has always proven that it's so big and complex and expensive to produce that it never was meant to sort of be an economical model to be carried by just ticket sales. So I think like an average sort of the average German theater would make only 30% of their costs on own incomes, so sponsoring and ticket sales, which compared to what you guys have to keep up with is probably wonderland. So I mean, you don't want to make a program that is sort of detached from your audience, because you still want your audience to come and like what you do. But it's not, but you can sort of be more daring and risky and can also, like, it's a bit of a tricky thing to say, that educate an audience and presents something to them that is not there. And like, I think prescription systems, because ticket prices are pretty low, generally speaking. So people are maybe more prone to try something they haven't done. So if you want to go and see Carmen at the Met, then you're spending, I don't know, $200 on the tickets or on one ticket. And then you have your expectations to be met, but this doesn't leave any room for, let's say, artistic development. The jobs of the orchestras are amongst the most stable and secure jobs that you can have in a theater, because they you get in through an audition. You have a year of, let's say, proof period where your peers and your employer can sort of confirm your elections. But then when you have the position, it's kind of impossible to, I'm looking in general, but it's a very secure working contract. If somebody is the first trumpet, it's not always possible to demote someone, to second trumpet, and that is it's quite a tricky concept sometimes, because it's not always quality that decides. Sometimes if somebody is sitting on that chair until he's going to retirement, people stay in those orchestras quite long. Actually, it's the same for chorus members. Like most of those theater companies have their own opera choruses, and they're also very secure jobs. Smaller orchestras and choruses often go through a quality cycle when you see, like, oh, now we have a lot of people that are just about to hit retirement. I'm not ageist, but it tends to be that those are physical jobs, and quality of voices and also some instruments doesn't necessarily last a lifetime. And then then the next generation comes, and all of a sudden the quality of that particular group or company is just much better. But there's not really much you can do about it. So that's the downside. On the plus side, first of all, if you really aim at having an orchestra career, it's the biggest job market, and the jobs, if you get in, it's very competitive, I would say, are super secure. And it's also, theaters are international places in Europe, generally speaking. So, and language is important if you live somewhere, but as a starting point, it's not a prerequisite to know perfect German, French, or whatever.
talk us through the ABC system? So like an A house, B house, and what that is and how that works?
Yeah, this is specifically German. It comes from the collective working contract. There's different classes of theaters, and they're not necessarily, I want to stress that somehow, they're not necessarily quality classes. Sometimes it correlates a bit, but it's purely based on the size of the orchestra. So I think an A house has around 90 or 92 orchestra members. Well, then B is less, and C is less. So yeah, generally speaking, the bigger houses have the bigger orchestras and choruses. And it's also, I mean, the pay of orchestra musicians is very much regulated in a scheme that's based on seniority. Like you have your initial entrance salary, and that will go up no matter what you do, well, except if you don't pass the proof period, which is nice, but it's also sort of limited. Like you cannot, unless you're the concertmaster, they have a bit of a special deal. They can have pretty individual contracts that are quite lucrative also, because they can sort of downsize their presence in a house pretty much, and then they can have many outside gigs as well. And this is how concertmasters get rich, basically. But other than that, you pretty much know what you get, but it's a very decent pay. And the bigger your orchestra, it's a bit sort of funny because it's not linked to quality. The bigger your orchestra, the higher the fees. So it is somewhat the aim for the better musicians to go into an A orchestra.
Could you, because I think if I remember correctly, orchestra members also do Einspringen, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because I think that ties into specifically the Ruhr area and why that's such a desirable place to be, and how you can really make bank doing that.
Yeah, So Einspringen, like literally translated, means to jump in. So let's say you're a double bass player and a colleague in another city is sick or on maternity leave or whatever, then they would sort of look around to fill that position with people to jump in for that, and that can be, usually you can do that while employed at another house. You have a very regulated life, you have a good income, and you can sort of do top-ups by teaching, by doing that, or you can have a family, and it's very, it's a good job. Like, that's really what I can say. It's not the stellar soloistic career standing on the podium front line every evening getting all the attention, but this is a very good way to make a living from making music.
What is the pathway of international performers in order to get jobs in these state houses?
I think you have to, have an audition period. You have to give yourself an audition period in Europe, which is possible with, normal visas. I think once you've got a job, the companies will very much help you get the right paperwork together to get like a temporary visa and a permit to work.
You can go for 6 months on a visa just as a tourist. So if you plan that well, you can get a lot done as far as auditioning, and you really paying attention to those C, D houses. And if you can make kind of a round and audition for as many of them as possible, it just takes one job offer. So if you get a job offer, your employer pretty much then takes it from there. And they will handle everything with what's called the Ausländerbehörde, or the immigration office, basically. And they'll do all your paperwork, and what you'll end up with is, as Jan said, a temporary visa. And by temporary, it just means it's dependent on your work. So as long as you have a contract, you have a visa. And that may seem tenuous, but as Jan pointed out, contracts for musicians in Europe are much more ironclad and secure than they might be here in the States. So you have a lot of power as an employee and a lot of security. So once you get that job, and like I said, the house, then the orchestra or the opera house will kind of take care of your paperwork or guide you through that whole process. Then it's really just about not screwing up, especially for that first year, that trial year. So you've gone through that first trial year and you haven't screwed up, then you're pretty much in the clear. Once you've been working consecutively for, I feel like it's maybe 2 or 3. It's a short period.
Yeah, it's not very long.
But then you have permanent residence status, which means that you can lose your job and be fine, and you don't have to go home or leave the country.
And that, I think, another way of sort of getting your foot on the ground here, I don't know which study level you guys are, is of course to do an exchange study here, or do your master's at a European conservatory, and then take it from there. Because first of all, a lot of the orchestras have orchestra academies, meaning that you can be sort of part of the orchestra for a certain period of time, half a year, depending on the program.
what is the kind of repertoire programmed in these music theater houses? Is it like the American? Are there like the American musical theaters programmed in these things, or is it strictly like the operetta to opera canon?
No, I think they're pretty wide in repertoire. I think there's a core. I mean, there's some sort of companies that focus on, let's say, entertainment theater, like Musikalische Komödie, or one of our common friends is singing in Leipzig. They're very much doing American musical theater and operetta. There's some companies that are sort of more specific on that. The general Stadttheater is a bit like a department store, so you have a bit of everything. And then there's real opera companies that would just do opera. Here, I think I have the feeling that a lot of houses are stuck with the same repertoire, sort of interpreted differently over and over. Like you have like a catalog of 30 pieces roughly. Those pieces would be reinterpreted and reinterpreted, and I would hope that the repertoire, generally speaking, would become broader. Yeah. I think the repertoire is pretty broad, especially as at the smaller houses. It's also not just serious opera. You will also always have musical theater, and then what kind of musical theater. Again, there's I think the big distinction you make is between orchestra and band musical theaters, and you would have both.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I've enjoyed it. I think it's been really interesting. I hope it was informative for everyone here.
All the best to you guys.
Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
My best friend had a little situation at the end of our senior year. And like a shot, she and Mitchell got married that summer. Carol Ann getting bigger every minute, thinking, what am I doing here? While Mitchell's out every night being a heavy metal drummer. They got a little cute house on a little cute street with a crucifix on the door. Mitchell got a job at a record store in the mall. Just the typical facts of a typical life in a town on the Eastern Shore. I thought about what I wanted. It wasn't like that at all. Made Carol Ann a cute baby sweater, thinking I can do better than that. In a year or so I moved to the city, thinking, what have I got to lose? Got a room, got a cat, and got 20 pounds thinner. Met a guy in a class I was taking who you might say looked like Tom Cruise. He wouldn't leave me alone unless I went with him to dinner. And I guess he was cute, and I guess he was sweet, and I guess he was good in bed. I gave up my life for the better part of a year. And so I'm starting to think that this maybe might work, and the second it entered my head, he needed to take some time off, focus on his career. He blew me off with a heartfelt letter. I thought I can do better than that. You don't have to get a haircut. You don't have to change your shoes. You don't have to like Duran just love me. You don't have to put the seat down. You don't have to watch the news. You don't have to learn to tango. You don't have to eat prosciutto. You don't have to change a thing. Just stay with me. I want you and nothing but you. Miles and piles of you. Finally, I'll have something worthwhile to think of each morning. You and nothing but you. No substitution will do. Nothing but fresh, undiluted, and pure. Top of the line. And totally mine. I don't need any lifetime commitments. I don't need to get hitched tonight. I don't want you to throw up all your walls and defenses. I don't mean to put on any pressure, but I know when a thing is right. And I spend every day reconfiguring my senses. When we get to my house, take a look at that town. Take a look at how far I've gone. I will never go back, never look back anymore. And it feels like my life led right to your side and will keep me there from now on. Think about what you wanted. Think about what could be. Think about how I love you. Say you'll move in with me. Think of what's great about me and you. Think of the bullshit we've both been through. Think of what's past, because we can do better. We can do better. We can do better than that. We can do better than that.
Second Stage is part of our larger series, Digital Clock. Digital Clock is made possible by a generous gift from Phil and Liz Gross. If you'd like to learn more about our programming or how you can become a supporter, visit us at collegelightoperacompany.com.